Gemini. They had no idea that betraying you would unravel their world. They thought they could walk away untouched, that turning their back on you wouldn't cost them a thing. But what they failed to realize was this: you weren't just another person in their life. You were the blessing, the covering, the silent force holding everything together. The moment they betrayed you, they opened a door to consequences they could never control. What they thought was just a choice became the very reason their life began to crumble. Because when someone betrays a soul like yours, chosen, favored, protected, they aren't just walking away from a person. They're walking away from the grace that kept them. And now they're learning the hard way. Betrayal isn't just a wound. It's a mirror. Gemini. They never realized that in betraying you, they weren't hurting you. They were revealing themselves. Betrayal doesn't start with a knife in the back. It starts with a shift in the spirit, a coldness in their eyes, a silence when you needed their voice, a laugh behind your back when you deserved their loyalty. That's not just pain. That's exposure. They thought they were breaking you, Gemini. They believed their betrayal would leave you shattered beyond repair. But in reality, all they did was shine a light on the weakness in their own soul. Betrayal is a mirror, and when they turned it on you, they thought you'd be the one caught in shame. But no. What stared back at them was their own reflection, drenched in fear, insecurity, envy, and guilt. Your absence is louder than their lies. Gemini, they banked on your silence. They thought your tears meant defeat. But what they didn't know was this: while you were crying in the dark, God was writing the story. While they were bragging about how they played you, heaven was setting the stage for their downfall. Because betrayal isn't just a sin, it's a boomerang. What they threw at you with deception will return to them in destruction. When they betrayed you, Gemini, someone loyal, someone who prayed for them, defended them, carried their secrets, they weren't just crossing a line. They were cutting off their own lifeline. They thought they were pushing you down, but really, they were pulling themselves into a storm. Because here's what they never understood, Gemini. You weren't just in their life. You were their covering. You were the peace in their chaos, the one who saw their pain and stayed when others walked away. And when they threw that away like it was nothing, they didn't gain freedom. They invited ruin. Now, they walk around haunted by their own decision. They thought losing you was a win, but life doesn't play by those rules. Now, they're dealing with the silence they created, the loneliness they asked for, the instability that came the moment your presence left. And the worst part? They can't even blame you. Deep down, they know. You never switched up. You never betrayed them. You never gave less than your all. It was their own reflection in that mirror of betrayal that sentenced them. Your healing is their reckoning. Gemini, you didn't have to fight back. You didn't have to clap back, expose them, or sink to their level. Your silence became the loudest consequence they've ever heard. Because when someone realizes they betrayed the one person who had their back unconditionally, it doesn't just bruise the ego, it crushes the spirit. Now, your name reminds them of everything they lost, not because you shouted it, but because your growth, your peace, your progress is shouting for you. So don't carry this wound like shame, Gemini. Carry it like proof. The fact that you survived without losing your integrity is a testimony all on its own. You didn't let it make you bitter. You let it make you wiser. You didn't let it break your faith. You let it refine it. They thought betrayal was your ending, Gemini. But really, it was your rebirth. It was the moment the mirror turned and showed you who they truly were. And in that moment, you were set free. God was always in control, Gemini. They broke you, yes. But they never understood one thing. Breaking you wouldn't keep you broken. They thought betrayal would bury you, that their deception would leave you forgotten. But what they didn't count on was the God standing over your life, watching every tear, every sleepless night, Every moment you chose silence over revenge. Because God doesn't let his children stay broken. Not when their heart was pure. Not when their love was real. While they were plotting, God was planning. While they were celebrating your fall, God was preparing your rise. What they thought was your ending was really your transformation. Now, they don't even recognize the version of you that God restored. They see you smiling, rising, glowing, and it disturbs them, because they swore you'd be nothing without them. But what they failed to understand was this. Betrayal didn't define you, Gemini. It refined you. You were the blessing. They lost Gemini. You were the blessing they mishandled. They thought you were replaceable. They treated your loyalty like a game, your love like a transaction. But what they didn't realize was this. You weren't just another person. You were the covering, the divine connection, the reason certain storms never destroyed them. And now they feel the absence. Not just of your voice, not just of your energy, but of the grace that followed you. Because when a blessing walks away, everything shifts. But don't you dare regret being that blessing, Gemini. Don't shrink your worth because they couldn't see it. You were real in a world full of fake. You were consistent in a world full of convenience. And just because they failed to honor that doesn't mean you weren't divine. Your absence is the storm. They never saw. Coming Gemini, they thought your silence meant defeat, but really, it was the beginning of their reckoning. Because your presence wasn't just filling space, it was holding things together. And when you left, the ground beneath them started to shake. Now, they sit in the wreckage of their choices, haunted by the blessing they let slip away. Not because you wished harm on them, but because favor doesn't stay where it isn't respected. So stand tall, Gemini. Keep healing, keep shining. Because the storm they're facing, it's not your burden to carry, it's the price of betrayal. And the most beautiful part? You didn't lose, you were set free. Now watch as God elevates you beyond what they ever thought possible. Because when someone betrays a Gemini, they awaken a force they can't undo. And now, the mirror is reflecting everything they tried to hide. Let that be their lesson. Let your peace be your power. You're not just healing, Gemini. You're rising, unstoppable.